Hello, I'm Dr. Angela Harden-Mack, your host for the Power Chat, and welcome. This Power Chat is sponsored by Live Great Lives Holistic Wellness Coaching, and I am the founder and CEO of Live Great Lives, where it's our mission to empower busy professional women with the strategy and resources to unlock vibrant health and vitality that leads to work-life balance and transforms hustle into harmony. Now, this power chat, this discussion about change and getting out of the maze is important when we talk about living a vibrant life and being the best version of ourselves. And I'm joined by one of my partners in this empowerment space, and she is a friend, and we have a really good time discussing topics such as change. And this is our third, I think, or fourth time together because we talked about the prequel in another session. So I'm super excited to present to you Tiffany R. Easley. She is the SOAR strategist, and she's going to tell you more about how she empowers women to soar. Tiffany, welcome.
Thank you, Dr. Angela. Thank you so much for having me back. As you said, we always have a blast. We love empowering professional women to live great lives and to soar. And so I'm excited about this chat, this power chat. I am Tiffany R. Easley, your soar strategist, where I help you soar beyond the challenges of your life to really focus on self-care. And why did I rush through that part? Self-care is what I love because I feel like at this time in our life, we don't prioritize it enough. So while I am the SOAR strategist and I help you overcome obstacles and all the things using the 5R principles of SOAR, I also have SOAR Lifestyle, which is a brand that is focused on professional women for them to really prioritize their self-care through community, conversations, and candles. Yes, candles. I curate candles that are clean, free of all harmful chemicals. That means they have no endocrine disruptors and they smell amazing. So that is what I have been doing for the past year. And when Dr. Angela asked me back to have a discussion about this book, I was like, absolutely. Little did I know that this book was so good and so juicy. So I'm excited to be here and I can't wait for us to dive into part two.
Yes, well, thank you, Tiffany, and welcome to the studio again. And we're here in part number two. So if you did not catch part number one, you must do that. And I'm sure not only where this is, we're streaming this or the broadcast is, I'm sure we'll have it listed on our YouTube channels because change is so important. Now, this is part number two, and we're going to show you the copy of the book, Out of the Maze. And this is the sequel to the book, Who Moved My Cheese? Leaders are readers. So if you are a leader, whether it's personal leadership, whether you're leading in your home, whether you're leading out of the community, leaders are readers. So these are two. And I know the original is available electronic. So grab these books, great to read, home, personal growth, family growth, your corporate growth, amazing. So this book is Out of the Maze, and an amazing way to get unstuck. And the first book, Who Moved My Cheese, you see the cheese in that one corner, and then you see the apple up because that is the symbol. It's the metaphor that we have. Now we're going to pick up and discuss the principles in this book, Who Out of the Maze, that was how to get out of the maze. But before that, we want to take a few minutes to talk about change. Are you an early adopter? You middle? You late? And why do we need to have a discussion about change? And then we're going to highlight some of the emotions that the characters, or I should say character in the beginning had. So Tiffany, you want to briefly let them know about let's go ahead and name the four characters from Who Moved My Cheese and then pick up with the main character who is in the beginning of this book, Little Sad.
Okay, so we had the little people, right? We had two little people.
Mm-hmm.
We had him and Ha, and we had Sniff and Scurry. Now, I'm not going to give you all them details because I want you to go back and watch part one. So what we did is we broke down all four of those people, him and Ha, Sniff and Scurry. Nip and Scurry are the little people, and we are going to introduce some more people in part 2. It's so good. And you have to pay attention because there's some play on some words that we're going to talk about, and you'll catch it if you're paying attention.
Yes.
So, back to you, Dr. Angela.
All right. Now we're just going to pick up right in the book, because this journey of him, because he was hemming around, we talked about the play on words. This is a journey, and this journey is one that we all go through periodically. It's a journey of transformation. That means you have the starting point, then this is the middle, and then you have the end result. So him was not an early adopter of change in the book. His cheese moved, and he didn't move with the cheese. His cheese moved, and he was looking around for it. Because he didn't move with the cheese, and because he was a late adopter, he experienced some things. He was sad. So what are some other things that he experienced, Tiffany? We're just bringing it to you right out of the book, out of the maze.
There was a mindset of being stuck and angry and blame. We didn't talk about this, but he blamed because he was always talking about they moved my cheese. But what about him? There's another play on words, right? Him. He never took responsibility in his response to the cheese being moved. It was always they, but him never did anything about the cheese being moved. So I sensed there was anger, there was frustration, there was distraught because he really didn't know what to do. And then he was lonely because his friend was gone, right? So there was a lot going on, and that mindset was crippling.
Yeah. And isn't that what happens to us when we are not taking responsibility for ourselves, when we are pointing a finger at other people or saying, why me? Or how come you didn't do X, Y, and Z? What we see and what we read in the book, being lonely, being frustrated, being angry. He was also experiencing some hopelessness. Hope is the expectation of good. And he wasn't hopeful in the beginning of Out of the Maze. He was actually experiencing less hope. Tiffany, why is this so important that I'm bringing up this absence of being hopeful and this hopelessness?
I love the way you did that introduction. I love it. It's perfect. So, I just talked about the little people. So that was left from part 1, or Who Moved My Cheese, right? Well, in part 2, in Out of the Maze, it picks up with the little person. And the little person is named Hope. How ironic is it that he was feeling hemmed around, right? He done hemmed around and ain't moved. And he's feeling hopeless, and he finds a little person, and her name is Hope. Now, if you put yourself in this situation, you've hemmed around in something that's dead and gone, done changed, done moved away, dead and gone,
right?
Dried up, over,
moldy,
hemming. Moldy like blue cheese, okay? And I personally like blue cheese, but it's moldy cheese, okay? Smelling funny, but you still sitting in it. And because of now I'm a Christian, so sorry, not sorry. God telling you, hey, I ain't over there no more. I'm over here. Can you come over here? I got something for you over here. I know you liked it over here and it was good. The green was good over here, but I got something over here. And you don't want to move. But he sends you hope. And he literally sent him hope in the form of a little person.
Yes. Wow, that's like mic drop. And how many times in the journeys, because we all are on our personal journeys, how many times perhaps is it that we're stuck where we are blaming someone else, when we're not sniffing out the change, when we're not scurrying, we're not taking action. And then as a result, we may be isolated and lonely and frustrated and angry and fearful because we haven't moved when the cheese moved. And in the darkness, and there's a point we're going to talk about this dark, in the darkness in an alley, when we feel as though there may not be hope, that there is hope that comes into the situation. And so it helps us to find our way out of the maze. Now, I'm going to share with you, and first I'm going to point out here that the facts of the matter. So hemmed around in the first book, didn't move when the cheese moved. And like we said, the cheese was old, the cheese was stinky, the cheese was moldy. If something was left, sometimes when the cheese changes, it's gone. And that's what him found. Sometimes the change is about as old. So in this book, him was alone, and then another little person, because he was a little person, came along, and it was Hope. And as he prepares to start out on the journey to get out of the maze, he writes some facts, and this important for you to know the facts of the matter on the paper. And Tiffany's going to tell us about the facts of the matter.
And just a little suggestion, were they really facts? So the facts of the matter. Number one, I have to find more cheese. If I don't, I'll die. How many of us have been in a situation where we know we got to do something different than what we're doing, but we keep doing the same thing, and we know the end result is not going to be good, but we stay in the same thing? Okay. Number two, the maze is a dangerous place full of dark corners and blind alleys. Is it really dark? Are the alleys blind? Is it some sunshine down there? Have I really looked? And then number three, it's up to me. I'm on my own. Are you on your own? Are there people that are willing to help you? Is it all the way? Is it really how you set your mind up? Because we talked about mindset in part one. Is it really how your mind is set? Or is it how you set your mind? Back to you, Dr. Angela.
All right. Well, thank you, Tiffany. So now we're going to pick up with the way out of the maze, and want you to keep in mind those three facts of the matter, because as him who was hemmed up is finding his way out of the maze, those facts, something happens in his experience. Are they really facts? So Tiffany started us off at the end of part one, out of the maze, and she led us into number one and number two. So Tiffany, go ahead and chop it up again with one and two, and then we're going to go right into number three and number four, and we're going to talk about those facts.
So number one, notice your beliefs. A belief is a thought that you trust is true. It's a thought that you trust is true. Number two, don't believe everything you think. Everything you think is not for you to believe. Some facts are just how you see things. Back to that mindset. Back to how your mind is set. Have you set your mind correctly? Okay, back to you, Dr. Angela.
All right. So let's and this is, I think, a great place now to talk about a little bit more about mindset and about thoughts. Now, for those of you who believe in the power of thoughts and are thinking and believe in mindset and manifestation, a thought becomes a thing. It's the process. Manifestation is the process where the thought becomes a thing. And when we're talking about it from the spiritual aspect, we are taught to set our mind on things above. And the Bible tells us, as a man, a woman thinks, so is she. So as him was faced with being in this situation, the maze, and we talked about before that the maze is how we're going about finding the things that we want, and the cheese represents the things that we want. He was going around and he was thinking, we read the facts, if I don't find cheese, I'll die. And Tiffany told us before, that's such a final look. And then it was, but I'm out here on my own. So what type of thoughts are running through your mind? What are you thinking? What are you setting your mind to? Because thoughts create our world. Thoughts determine how we respond. Tiffany, was there anything in here that really, like, one thing maybe that stuck out with you in terms of him and his thoughts or his thoughts?
His thoughts were dangerous to me. And the reason I say that is because you hit the nail on the head when you said it seems so final. I want to
Mhm.
bring it to present tense and the
Mhm.
reality of our world and just some of the things that have happened over the last few years. There's
Mhm.
been an influx in suicide. There's been an influx
Mhm.
in violence. There's been an influx in just people really not liking who they are and where they are in life. And they
Mhm.
find their way out is to literally check out, whether it's mentally
Mhm.
check out or in their lives, right?
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
so it's back to that mindset thing. And I think what we see in him is he reached a point of desperation
Yes.
that
Yeah.
turned into determination that
Mhm.
required him to find some motivation to get
Mhm.
liberation.
I think you all want to write that down. Say that one more time, Tiffany.
He
Oh,
found himself in a
mhm.
moment of desperation
Mhm.
that required him to tap into determination to find
Mhm.
some motivation to get
Mhm.
some liberation.
Mhm.
And if you
That's right.
think about it,
Mhm.
many of us are there on a day to day basis, but it's our mindset that helps us set where our mind is going to go.
Yes.
Because he kept saying dark alleys, dark
Mhm.
corners,
Yeah.
dark, 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 which in
Mhm.
the world we equate dark with death, right? But
Mhm.
at the moment when it mattered most,
Mhm.
when the rubber met the road, he had to make
Mhm.
a decision to see something different, right? That mindset shifted.
Mhm. Mhm.
And how many times have we as individuals, especially women in power positions,
Yes.
professional women, let's just
Yeah.
be real. We have to fight for what we have and where we are and how we
Mhm.
stand.
Yes.
That's just the reality. Whether you agree or disagree, it's the truth. We
Mhm.
had to fight to come to the table, to own the table, to get the
Mhm.
space, to speak up when we get there. And our
Mhm.
mindset had to shift in order for us not to go back to that dark place and say, oh, I'm going to shrivel back in my seat. I'm not going to say nothing. I'm not going to
Yeah.
speak with confidence and authority because I don't have that. But
Mhm.
see, we have a choice.
Mhm.
And him saw that at
Mhm.
that moment of darkness, his
Mhm.
determination to become
Mhm.
liberated
Mhm.
overtook the
Mhm.
decision to stay in the darkness. How many
Mhm.
of us are willing to do that? How many
Mhm.
of us are willing to get out of the maze by saying, you know what, I'm desperate. I'm
Mhm.
like if I don't do this one thing, I'm
Yeah.
going to die. Now, we
Yeah.
may hear die and think physical, but it's
Yeah.
so many aspects to death. The
Yes.
death of your dream, the death of
Yes.
your belief, the
Yes.
death of your career, the
Yes.
death of your mindset. All of those things are a piece of death.
Mhm.
I was there. I
Mhm.
had the job of the career of my dreams. And if I
Mhm.
stood in that dark place and allowed darkness to
Mhm.
become my motivation, I wouldn't
Mhm.
be in the light that I'm in now, which is making candles for people and making people happy.
Yes.
Now, granted, that was not where I thought I was going to be, but that's where I am today. And it was because of the determination not to stay in the dark place. So we can't hem
Mhm.
around in the dark.
Mhm.
We got to open the shade. We got to open the shade. Yep, your eyes are going to hurt for a little minute because they
Mhm.
got to adjust to the light, right? But we
Mhm.
have to be willing to do that. And him,
Mhm.
he realized, you know what? If I don't do this thing, I'm gonna die. If you don't do
Yeah.
that thing, if you don't make that change, you're gonna die. Not
Yeah.
necessarily a physical death, but there's an aspect and a piece of you that will not make it out if you don't, out of that desperate moment, make a
Mhm.
decision to live.
Yeah, yeah. That was good. That was real good. And as we were discussing in the green room before we started, that this book has so many gems and nuggets and highlights that I tell you, you read it, but you want to read it again and again because and it's an easy read and it is thought provoking because this is about your thought life. This is about mindset because our inner world, and this is where the thoughts are, the inner world creates the outer world. As you think, so you are. What you see in your outer world is in part due to what you think and what you feel and what we say. And we see this demonstrated in him. We really, like, we have this side seat, right, where we're watching him on his journey. We're watching his transformation. He was alone. He was isolated. He was frustrated. Scurry and Sniff were gone, right? The cheese moved and they moved. If your cheese is moving, move. Paul was, he was stuck at first, but then he laughed at himself. And that was one of the things in the first book. He was like, okay, I'm going. He didn't know what was out there. He was uncertain. But when the pain of staying the same was greater than the pain of changing, he was like, I gotta go. I don't know what's out there. I gotta go. And he said, come on, him, and go. But him didn't. And him stood back and he blamed everybody else. Who moved my cheese? They moved my cheese. They moved my cheese. Well, they did, maybe, perhaps, but him didn't move. And so we are given this glimpse where he was lonely and isolated and desperate. And he was despondent and discouraged, and he was in the dark. And one of the things he said, and this was one of the facts, he said, the maze is dangerous, right? He said the maze is a dangerous place full of dark corners and blind alleys. And you know what? Life is blind. Tiffany just told us, dark. There is some darkness. There are dark places. There are places of light. But guess what? As him was on his journey and he had a partner this time, a companion in hope, they had a light. See, we didn't get hope, had the light. And they went in some places that were dark, but they had the light that they were able to shine, and the darkness wasn't as dark anymore. Wow. And when they had the light to shine in the dark, they were able to see things. Sometimes that was a blind alley. They couldn't go, so they had to backtrack and find another way. But they found a window and they found a door and they found a way out. So even though in these times things are dark, and even though we may be discouraged sometimes, we must have hope. We must make the decision that even though it's uncomfortable, that even though we don't have all the answers, we don't have it all figured out. Let me put both hands up. We don't always have it figured out. But if we stay around waiting for all the lights to be green and all the I's to be dotted exactly that way, we're going to be like him. He became weak. He became frustrated. He was physically weak because he hadn't eaten. He was he was weighed down by the older thoughts, and he was alone and fearful. So we can find a way out of the maze. We want to look inside. Tiffany's going to read for us this is the way out of the maze, number 1, 2, 3, 4, and number 5.
Okay, so number 4 is look outside the maze. Now, I find it funny that they listed look outside the maze, because doesn't that sound like common sense, Dr. Angela?
Yeah, it does.
If you stuck in a maze, common sense would be to look outside the maze, consider the unlikely, and explore the impossible. But why is it when we're stuck, we don't?
Right. Exactly.
We stuck. But we don't ever think about the most unlikely or explore the impossible. I never thought about exploring the fact that I have a gift of taking fragrances and blending them and they become phenomenal. Never. I never thought about the fact that my entire journey as a survivor could change the lives of people through a candle. Never. But I didn't look outside the maze of, I went to school for this, I got the degree for that, I got the honorary doctorate for that, I did this, I did that, and this makes sense. I spent 20 years in this industry. I'm going to retire from this industry because that's what I'm supposed to do. But when that maze got dark and that corner got dark, I didn't take into consideration turning to the light and saying, oh, let me look outside the maze and see what God got for me. Lo and behold, a whole nother life. So look outside the maze, consider the unlikely, explore the impossible, choose a new belief. Remember when Dr. Angela opened up this section, she said, could it be something different? Is it really what you think and what you believe? Is that really the truth? Choose a new belief, changing what you think. He had to change the way he thought. Because he thought he was right staying up there in that maze with no cheese until he realized if I don't move, I'm gonna die. Because there is no cheese in this
Ooh,
maze.
no cheese, no cheese.
You done, baby, you done sat there, you done ran your little just imagine him. Now here he is, he over there running in the maze looking for
Yeah,
cheese and looking for cheese
yeah,
and looking for cheese. Ain't no cheese in there. He
yes,
don't look down. And here's the symbolicness of it all. He
yeah,
described the corridors and the alleys as dark.
yes,
Darkness means the end and death, but yet and still you still trying to find cheese? Baby, it
mm-hmm,
ain't there.
yeah,
Choose a new belief.
yes.
Change what you think.
Mm-hmm. You have to change what you think. And one of the so many gems, one of the things I thought was powerful in the book, where it really for me highlighted this transformation. On page 55, he says, he goes back to this: the maze is dark and dangerous. And he said when he was young, he was a boy, that's what he learned. And that thought kept whispering in his mind: the maze is dark and dangerous. The maze is dark and dangerous. On page 51, he says, but he had a great idea. If there were really no limits to what he could believe, then why not give it a try? He closed his eyes again and began to think there's something amazing. That's where you get the amazing outside of the maze. So he grew up hearing that the maze was outside, was dark and dangerous. The maze was outside and dark and dangerous. But as he learned in his journey that facts are not really facts, that you can change what you believe, that there are some things to do, he went from believing that outside the maze was dark and dangerous to there is something amazing outside of the maze. And so I think one of the lessons for us is that we have to periodically go back and think about the things that we learned, not only in childhood, but when we were in high school, when we were in college, when we were 30 years younger, 20 years younger, because our thoughts, some of them were never true, right? Because our thoughts are dependent upon our experiences and our perspectives. And that's okay. This is for all of us. Sometimes our thoughts become just outdated. We don't still have VHS and beta. We don't still have 8-track. For those of you who know what 8-tracks are, those of you who grew up like me with the Walkmans, for those of you who don't know, just take our words for it. We don't have those things because technology and science upgraded. So just like we have evidence of upgrades and revisions in our physical world, how about periodically checking here and evaluating our thoughts? And just like the cheese we talked about can get old and outdated and sometimes stinky, sometimes our thoughts, if they're old and outdated, just don't fit us anymore. Can be kind of old, not fit, and won't bring the beautiful aroma of what we're called and equipped to do at that time. It may not always be that it's smelly, but it's not as fragrant. It doesn't line up with the season, with the assignment that we're in. So we have to evaluate our thoughts. And as we're wrapping up, Tiffany, what else would you like to share with them before we invite them to this amazing book?
So I just want to say, when you get the book and you begin to read it, I'm pretty sure that when he got out of the maze, there were a few moments, there was probably several moments where he wanted to go back to what was familiar.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
As humans, we
Mm-hmm.
always want to go back to the place of comfort,
Yeah.
what's familiar, what we're
Yeah.
used to. But it's usually at that moment of discomfort, your most uncomfortable moment, when you're going to have the biggest breakthrough and you're going to learn a level of resilience you never knew you had. So just be mindful on your journey, whatever that journey is: personal, professional, spiritual, mental, physical, emotional, that at your most difficult moment, that is when you are going to be tested so that you can go to the next level. It's not for you to run back to comfort. It's actually for you to run away from it. And I know him was like, "Oh, what have I done? I'm out the maze. I don't know where I'm going. I do got hope." Because now look, he met a person named Hope. Always carry hope with you. Don't turn back to the darkness. Always carry hope with you. And so that would be my encouragement for you when you're on your own journey to get out this maze called life, right? Carry hope with you. Be encouraged by hope. Fuel your hope. Feed your hope. You got to feed that hope every day. So that would be my theme to the individuals that are going to come on the journey with us.
All right. So on the journey, and Tiffany, they want to, let me pull this up here, know how to connect with you. And all right. So there you go.
My website is tiffanyreasley.com, and my email is admin, that's ADMIN, at tiffanyreasley.com. I would love to connect with you, help you soar, help you prioritize your self-care. So either way, connect with me either on tiffanyreasley.com or at admin, ADMIN, at tiffanyreasley.com.
Wonderful. Thank you, Tiffany. One of the last things in the book that's credible. So they made it out of the maze, him and Hope. And guess what? They connected with Haw again. Haw was the friend of him, and he was concerned about his buddy. And they all met up and they enjoyed the cheese and the apple. And they were on the next adventure. And the book encourages us. There's a letter here to share this story. So as I discovered the book, I shared it with Tiffany. I said, Tiff, sis, we got to do this discussion. We got to follow it up. So we're here sharing this with you. And we believe that as you read both Who Moved My Cheese and this sequel, Out of the Maze, that you will be encouraged, you will be inspired, you will be determined to share with other people your inspirations and how these stories have helped you to change, and share it. You will be excited, and I believe you will feel honored to press it and place it and send it forward. I want to share with you, and we both, look forward to hearing from you, that you are able to connect with me at info@AngelaHMspeaks.com. Absolutely, we want to hear it from you. If you want to chop it up about the book, if you want to learn more about how you are able to get personalized wellness solutions just for you, busy professional women, there are some specific things that we need so that we don't get stuck, so that we aren't out here juggling and surviving when we can be thriving both at home and at work. And that's what holistic, meaning whole person, whole woman wellness is about, and how you're able to find your unique rhythm so that you can be vibrant and change, resilience, a part of that. So we look forward to talking with you more. We look forward to empowering women so that you can live your great life and that you can soar, because we were all created for greatness. We were all created to fly with the eagles, to fly above and be above every difficult circumstance. And so it's just a matter of having the resources, having the tools, and having those individuals to walk beside you, your guys, to say, we have been through some of this. And so we have discovered the secrets, and we have the keys to help you do that. And that's why we here at Live Great Lives, we're excited and honored to bring you Power Chats so that you can take this information, and it was about Out of the Maze, and you can be empowered. So look for us. And again, we're going to share some more about how you can watch this broadcast again and some additional resources. And stay tuned, because this book inspired some other topics for us, and we're super excited to bring those to you. So it is our desire that you find your way out of the maze, and know that when your cheese moves, Tiffany, what should they do?
Move with the cheese.
Move with the cheese. So thank you so much for tuning in. It has been our pleasure, and we look forward to seeing you. We are out of the maze, so we look forward to seeing you on the next leg of your journey. Until next time, remember, move with the cheese.